Hello everyone, welcome back to Hero Wars Guide. Today's game data update included the upcoming event schedule as well as the next season in this series of week-long seasons. This was a bit of a surprise for me as I expected the Titan Skin season to be following, but it looks like we're getting the Ascension season instead. So we'll take a look at the rewards and the tasks for the season, but first let's take a quick look at the schedule. We did just get Foundations of Power added to the mix, which I think was teased on the official forums just this morning. This is going to start Sunday night in the West at the conclusion of Ascension to Asgard, but both Ascension to Asgard and Guardians of Outland, both Ascension to Asgard and Foundations of Power will overlap partially with Guardians of Outland. So for sure, don't do much spending on Ascension to Asgard until Guardians of Outland kicks in, and depending on which you favor between Ascension to Asgard and Foundations of Power, you may want to time your Guardians of Outland spending to overlap the right event. There will be 1 day of overlap, just 1 day between Guardians and Foundations of Power. In my opinion, out of the two events, the Foundations of Power is better than the Ascension to Asgard, so if you're thinking about spending into Guardians Outland, which is a very good event, probably the best recurring event anyway, so it is a good time to spend. In my opinion, if you're picking one of the other two to spend inside, I'd go with Foundations of Power. Titan Skinstones is one of those resources that takes forever and a day to trickle in, and the return emerald values on that I think are a little bit better than Ascension to Asgard. Also, probably last note on the event is that the version that we have been seeing most recently does include performing some summoning circles. So if you don't ordinarily hang on to these, make sure you get at least 50 by Sunday, or really by the end of the event. Alright then, with the schedule out of the way, let's take a look at the season. And I think I'll start with the tasks first. That should be quick, so we'll get that out of the way. Probably the only one here that's going to require any kind of planning or struggle to get through is maybe this 100 soul stones of any hero. But I think this is a better one to see than the heroic chest or soul atrium sort of task, because it looks like these can come from any source. If it so happens that the first day of this thing is on one of the days of the calendar where we get Hero of the Month soul stones, maybe hang on to those until the evening. But otherwise, not really any advanced planning needed, I don't think. And in fact, everything on the board here, I don't think you need any kind of special prep for. They should be pretty easy to complete during the day. So before moving on to rewards, I'll just zoom in for a moment on the hidden tasks, which is in this far right column. If you do, for whatever reason, purchase the ticket on the later side, these are the tasks that will be hidden until you do so. Alright, then moving back over to the rewards. I'll start with the main point first, which is the Eternal Seed reward that we're used to seeing on these Ascension season has been cut down, sadly. I think there was a lot of talk on various discords about how this was kind of an underwhelming season to begin with, even at 50 seeds, and now that it's down to 15, it really is pretty underwhelming. That's perhaps worth 6,000 emerald. So I didn't think that it would really be possible to do it, but they've made the Ascension season ticket about as bad. Maybe still a little bit better based on some of the resource types, but in the same ballpark as the first week of this process, which was also pretty disappointing. There are a few good entries in here. There are some direct emeralds with 1,000 kicking in on a couple of the different levels here. There are a number of different levels that provide skin stones. Depending on where you're at, maybe you like the rune, glyph enchantment runes or not. But there are a lot of total duds in here where they throw over and over again these base level crystals at you with 300, 225, 200 here. And there were, I think, 4 or 5 different levels that give the lower tier insignia, 100, 100, 100, and 75. For some reason, the higher level goes down in quantity. So you're getting hundreds of the junk tier crystals and only a handful of the better stuff here where you get 50 greater insignia and 50 radiant crystal. Oh yeah, and another 100 junk insignia down here as well. So they really heap on the stuff that you don't need, or at least not for as long and not in anywhere near as great a quantity. Maybe you're a newer player and you're excited to see some of these things, crystal and insignia. And if it's not the case now, it will be, in the medium term, if not before that, you're dumping these crystals and insignia into heroes that you don't care about at all, and the ones that you probably do are still starved on these greater insignia and radiant crystal. And the more that they release these various packages, bundles, rewards in the game with this unbalanced ratio, the worse that problem gets. All right, but I don't want to dwell too long on just nitpicking the reward types here. I'll take a look on a numeric basis. I have loaded this new week-long season into the calculator section. It'll be available under the bundles list at the very bottom, or towards the bottom. I renamed the Cosmic Week-long event to Cosmic Week, and this new upcoming one will be Ascension Week. And so this is summarizing down some of the reward types, like the skin stones don't have a type anymore, and that sort of thing. But it's following all of the resource allocations given on the site here. And if you were to load this yourself, if you've applied your own custom overrides and you're set to use those, you may get a different number here. But with the raw, unreduced Hero Warriors Guide value recommendations, this is still a bit higher than 4x Emeralds. So despite all the griping I just went through, the value is kind of there relative to 4x Emerald Sale. And you do, again, get a chance at a totem. It's, I guess maybe count this as a third of a totem as well. So if you currently have, or you expect to reach the point where you have all 30 totems and you're selling spares for 200,000, you could add effectively another 67,000 to this. Otherwise, if you don't think you'll ever get to 30, then it's just a third of however you value a totem, which at that point is a little bit less clear. But in fact, I have loaded my custom overrides into the value. I'm curious how this is going to work out based on where I'm at the game. Right now it's at 35k, but I'm going to go ahead and switch it over, instead of using the default suggestions, to use the custom overrides that I've put in, which is going to set crystal to 0, and I'm sure mostly reduce the other resource types. Things like the radiant crystal will actually go up, and maybe a few other things went up slightly. But yeah, so you can see now it's further been reduced to just 30k, or 160% of the 4x level. So if you are a long-term player and you're maybe starting to max out some of the resource types, or just hold different values in your mind on how some of these things should be evaluated, I'd encourage you to come into the site, go to preferences, and specify some of your own overrides. Okay, last thing before we wrap up here, I wanted to put it out there that my guild is recruiting. We are on web server 52 in the top half of gold, usually ranked second, occasionally first or third. We are looking for players that have at least one maxed totem, and with a good enough deck of heroes and the patience to do enough testing to be effective in Guild War or Clash of Worlds. And again, competitive for us means top half of gold. In Clash of Worlds, we have placed in the top 50, but I think usually somewhere between 50 and 100, or maybe 120 or something. In terms of other activity levels, we generally beat the 160 Osh and max out the activity rewards, sometimes Tight Knight, sometimes not. But yeah, it's a good group of people, and of course, if you have any questions about the game, you got one of the biggest nerds out there that can help you out. So if you think you'd be a good fit, let me know in comments or Discord, or my email's on the site here. Whatever you like there is good for me. All right, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you again next time.